Well, good morning, and thank you very much for joining us. I am Yori Folarin. Now, in the polity, in governance, you can't do without a civil service. It's indispensable. But what kind of a civil service do we have? Well, the acting president, Vice President Osinbajo, took on the public service, if you want, so to speak, where he's asked them to shape up and do the needful. And, you know, the usual thing about you know, my God rules, God is in charge, fasting and praying, they all have their place. But here it's about we've got to now be doing it. The success of the programs of the administration will depend very, very largely on, the Vice President said, acting president, will actually depend on everybody playing their own part, from the judiciary to the legislature, to the executive. He didn't leave anybody out. You're a public servant, then you owe a duty to your country to be up and doing. As he put it, everybody's grabbed that particular headline. No amount of fasting or praying is going to sort our problem out without bending our back a little and doing the needful. Well, our guest this morning, Dr. Osinbajo, he's a policy analyst. Thank you very much for coming on. He's a medical doctor. And Dr. Dan Ekere, he's a lecturer in the Department of Philosophy of the University of Lagos. He's not a body doctor, he's a book doctor. Thank you, gentlemen, for coming on.
Thank you, it's a pleasure to be here.
Now, let me start with you, if I could, Dan. The Vice President, I think when he spoke, he was speaking in the context of explaining the executive orders, as you know, that have been signed, and how we really have to look inwards. He was really saying what every single Nigerian, bar none, I think, can relate to. Because we have the concept, don't we, that government can be a cog in the wheel of progress. Now, we're not talking about government of the ruling party, but the system, the administration, the civil service. You want whatever permit it is, it's not as simple as walking in and walking out. Those kind of attitudes, simple, shall we say, symbolized by that simplistic example, they just about define the civil service in Nigeria. So it's timely that the president, the acting president, is seeing this weak link in the chain, isn't it, Dan?
Yeah, you're right. I think that well, being one from the public sector as well.
Yes. You're part of it.
Yes.
He himself is part of it.
Know, from the academia down to governance and the rest of it, and maybe even administering others as a pastor and what have you. He must have seen this.
Yes.
And he headed a ministry even in Lagos. So he
knows how it works.
He's part and parcel of the system. He knows. Now, the truth remains that much of the problems of corruption that we have are actually traceable to the civil service, much of it. Because when you have a civil service that is up and doing, that is upright, that is diligent, and what have you, the room for corruption will be very minimal. Interestingly, a lot of the ministers that even come in, they are like visitors, they are like strangers. It is the civil service itself that shows them how to manipulate the system. We will recall the case of Suji the other time. There was this woman too, I think Adenike Craig, Now, when you look at when you look at all of that, you notice that the problem was really with the civil service. Now, they are the administrators of government proper. The rest perhaps maybe sit at the head of the ministry and various agencies, and perhaps, you know, look at how policies are formulated and the rest. But those who carry out these things daily are the civil servants. Now, a situation in which a file will only move from one table to the other when something exchanges hands, then obviously you are simply saying that for you to get things done, you must go the corrupt way. Now, that situation, is it prayer that will solve it? This is something that has to do with the attitude. And at the same time, the system itself has to be properly monitored. Apart from the issue of incentives and what have you, there has to be serious checks to ensure that excesses are curtailed. Otherwise, the system, the way it is being handled today, it is difficult for you to do without, you know, corruption.
It is not, thank you very much, Dan. Amadili, it's not just today. We've been in this mode for decades, I might suggest. And when you look at the situation, maybe the question I want to ask you is that It's a tall order that the vice president, the acting president puts up. How optimistic are you as to the doability? Because this would involve a personal revolution, one of the hardest revolutions imaginable.
Yes, it's quite a tall order, like you said. I remember the days of the ethical revolution by Shagari, Shehu Shagari. Then IBB Babangida's MAMSA, and then National Orientation Agency is there, the ICPC is there, and various other tribunals are there to checkmate these abuses. But why they still go on, it's not for lack of knowledge. The acting president was given a powerful sermon, but whether people are going to relate to the sermon and, as it were, submit themselves to these things is what I consider a tall order. For instance, most people in the civil service...
That is the part where the vice president admonishes us to take the government direction and policy as a personal policy.
It's difficult.
Not just their policy, or this is the new government. That is my policy.
It's difficult because the orientation of a civil service is not like that. The civil service is still oriented along colonial lines, where you come in to plunder. They don't feel that they are there to achieve set objectives, and most of the indices for measuring performance are not being put in place. Enforcement, if you are caught, how many people have been sentenced? If you imagine, most people sometimes are just sacked and rarely taken to the court and found guilty and then sentenced. What you normally have is sermonization, and this has been the same. Remember Jerry Garner, if you're a teacher, teach well. If you're a director, direct well. Did it work? No. And so beyond the sermons, beyond the exhortations, there's a need for the institutions of states that have been put into checkmate these people, like the Civil Service Commission. There's so many things. The Independent Corrupt Practices Commission is there, the EFCC is there, and then above all, we all know that every ministry has its own system in place for rectifying such anomalies. But they are not done. So once it is known that you can get away with impunity, people continue committing impunity. Instead of sermonizing, pick some people up, deal with them. And let it be. During the days of Murtala Mohammed, the thing was you be dismissed with immediate effect. Every day you sat down at network news to listen to whose turn it is next, and you are going. The executive order the acting president released concerning the ports, very far-reaching. If you are not recognized and a documented dignitary, nobody should come and receive you at the port. No touting at the port. No taking of bribe by customs, immigration, and the various other institutions of state at the port. Will it work?
Indeed. And this change of attitude,
it's an orientation. It is an orientation.
It is. He recalled that the president had said at the launch of the economic recovery program that we actually need to grow what we eat and make what we use. Now we've become soft. Not that I have anything against Bentleys, but Nigerians won't bat an eyelid if they can afford it about bringing in a Bentley, in short, or a Ferrari for that matter. The sense of values are different. This whole matter about we must grow what we eat and make what we need, it will entail some initial sacrifices. Whether or not we are ready, if we have listened and accepted the message of this organization, if we believe that they themselves are going to play their own parts, I guess that's the question up there, because it's about leading by example.
Interesting. That's just the bottom line. You want me to do things a particular way, and meanwhile you do them in a different way.
Well,
how do you think I can actually take that sermon? So I think the major challenge is that we need to see a leadership that is committed to whatever is preaching. We need to see that leadership do things the way they want things done, because they said the change that is being preached begins with you. But actually somebody brought the idea that there should be a change. So I need to see that person a changed person. He has to be a changed person. Once I've seen that and you begin to tell me change, I will see some sense in what you are saying. So the executive actually has to lead in this particular area. You want me to consume what we produce. What do you consume?
Okay, let's go on a quick break, and then we'll come back and continue on this theme, because there's nothing like showing as opposed to teaching and telling. The two are, they're related, but they're different. Stay with us. We'll be right back, please. Welcome back. We're looking at the Vice President, Acting President Osinbajo's admonition to the public service that everybody is going to need to be up and doing for this revolution that we all pine for, that we all want. We've got to show how much we want it by actually doing it. And the way the civil service works in Nigeria, I guess it could be a lot better. Now, perhaps more importantly, people outside of Nigeria who are considering engaging with Nigeria already know this reputation. Now, I don't know that Nigeria is exclusive in this club. There might be other civil services like that. But in our own case, somebody was observing that the problems for any visitor to Nigeria begin with even trying to get a visa. What can be made a walk-in, walk-out process. In some instances, you actually post it. They actually post visas to people, post your passport. You can't try that in Nigeria.
Yeah, like I was trying to say, I stopped at the point of saying that let the government lead by example. You see, but again, the issue you've just raised, coming to the issue, even ordinary passports, just to get an international passport, the stress, what you go through to get something as simple as a passport is enough. I mean, it's enough to frustrate whoever has any interest. The same way with the visa. Whoever has any interest in info coming to Nigeria. Now, much of these people, Nigerians on their own are going through all manner of ways to foreign lands. All right? Now, if it was so good for the hawk, it would not be coming down to look for chicks. All right? So, if things are like that, and you are promoting come and invest, why not simplify the system? Why make it difficult for people to even obtain visa to come? But particularly those who have something to do.
Exactly. And Amadili, the truth is that policymakers are not making it difficult. Perhaps it's the executors. It's the executors, because at the end of the day, it's not Buhari and Osinbajo that are going to be at the border or the passport office or the visa office. Those are not the guys. But they've put out the policy that we want FDI. We want that. And now everybody else isn't in sync, it would appear.
It's a problem that starts with primary school education. If people from the outset are not trained ethically to have integrity, to be straightforward. If you talk to any young person on the street today, there's nothing like being straightforward anymore. The end justifies the means. And you are in civil service, you are going to retire at 60, you're putting 35 years in civil service, and there's nothing to show for it. You now think of, how do I take care of myself after living here? You see politicians earning what you cannot even explain. You see civil servants at a particular level having having cars and having so many things to only one man. And then you now find yourself at a level where you are at the border. There are now juicy posts in the police, juicy posts in immigration, juicy posts in customs. The people sending you there, they're sending you there to take care of you. When I was talking to a friend, a judge, and I said, oh, sir, I can't see your ADC. Oh, he said the ADC has been complaining for some time now that his wife delivered and he had no money to take care of his wife. And so the DPO posted him to a lucrative posting for 1 month, so that the man can be taken care of. And after a month, my friend called me, he said, this is back. I said, okay, I'm okay now. I'm okay now. You can see that the whole system, from the level,
but it's not funny at all.
It's not funny, but that's what obtains. If you are posted, for instance, you're at customs, and you are posted, for instance, to a place like Katsina, you cry. But if you are posted to a D-Roko, people that even posted you there expect you to make some returns. Now, so the system is corrupt through and through.
Now, this is the mindset that the acting president
is trying to
would want to shift. The president himself has already, established that line.
Cannot shift
it
by
can't be business as usual.
It cannot shift by sermonization. There's a need for ethical revolution. And like he said, starting from the top. If the president wants to shift, the president should be treated in Nigeria. Are you getting me? That's how to shift it. Then we should remember the days of Obasanjo, low profile. He wore Nigerian, I'm talking about 79, 80, he wore Nigerian clothes.
Don't remind me of the 505s, that the commander-in-chief used to drive a 505.
Yes,
remember?
He was driving the 505.
Remember?
Yes, he was driving a 505 and he was wearing agbada and everything with Ankara.
But things are different.
And that was in the days of Wanyosi, where you were buying lace of very expensive lace. Obasanjo changed the thing. And it went down the line. If you start from the top, and they say
but the same Obasanjo came back and was nothing like his former self.
Well, we're talking about the past.
Okay.
When Shagari came in, Shagari talked about ethical revolution, but we found out that the government was corrupt. So it's not the sermon, is the institutions of state put in place to checkmate these things. If you read through this paper or some days ago where the new commissioner of police to Lagos warned the DPOs, had a meeting with DPOs at the Police Officers Wives Association Hall in Ikeja, and said if anybody is shot without justice, you are going. If you pursue Yahoo boys, you are going. He listed a lot of things. He listed a lot of things. But he was saying this because he had been in the system and he knows this is what happens. There are some points in Lagos, if you are posted to the DPO, you are made for life. And that is clear. Everybody knows these things. Now it is to implement them and ensure that these things don't go. It's not business as usual.
And the worry is that there is so much business as usual going on even as we speak, if the truth be told. I mean, it's not a happy thing to have to say. Yes. Buhari came on board, you know, with one of the maxims was that it's not going to be business as usual. Yes. But there have been forces that have said that, well, you push me, I push you. There is room.
Practically nothing has changed.
There is room for this matter about pushback, which we all say now, that corruption is pushing back.
Of course. It was actually said that it will fight back, not push. It is fighting. Now, but why will it not be so? You've worked, you've served the federal government, you've served the state government for 30, 35 years, you retire. Even what is due to you legally, you don't get it. Your pension. You begin to queue. In the course of that, we've seen people die. Meanwhile, those who are supposed to be the custodian who ought to take care of this are flying abroad, building this, buying that, billions. Next plea bargain, they give you 3 million, they can go with 70 billion. Why will it not steal? Stealing is profitable with the way it is being handled. Because at the time you take 20 billion naira, the highest that you bring for your, what do you call it, plea bargaining, will not be more than 5 billion. Are you not rich? Look at the various cases that have been treated. That was how it went. So how are you going to correct this? Is it by summons?
Really, that is the question. Because the vice president stated that, look, I'm a man of faith, I'm a pastor, I know all about spiritual laws, the law of sowing and reaping, I'm aware of all of that. You reap what you sow, but we ourselves, our indolence is a reaping. And I mean, it's a sowing, I beg your pardon.
We're going to reap.
And we're going to reap, we're going to reap all of that, especially this whole matter of procrastination. Things that can be done instantly. People will say, come back tomorrow. If you're lucky, come back tomorrow. More like come back next week or next month.
Tomorrow is never exhausted. There's always a tomorrow. So,
so it's an attitude.
Yes, I would have been more impressed if the acting president had strengthened ICPC, had strengthened Civil Service Commission with incorruptible people and told them to get on board, do something immediately. Anybody that's caught doing it, get the person fired. Every investigation should be concluded swiftly. People are charged to court, and within they are new. I mean, we have the recent acts that expedited justice and make sure that criminal justice is quickly taken care of. And now, if you get them in and say, look, get this thing done. You are in charge of Civil Service Commission. You are in charge of ICPC. You are in charge of EFCC. You are in charge of all those things. When you catch somebody, I mean, make sure you have everything in place and deal with the person. If you find out that this week 5 people are in jail, next week another 10 people are caught and they are dealt with according to the rule of law, people will sit up.
Thank you. That rule of law that you just had, Dan, we have a problem. The problem, I think, is democracy. Because democracy is involved here. So even as we have all these ideals, all these objectives that we're pursuing, we have to still factor in democracy because the lawyers are just waiting. They're just waiting on the wings and rule of law, democracy, due process. That's a whole wide field for the lawyers to get in on the act. Yes. Because it is felt that people wonder how serious we really are about this professed change that we need to go through. Because they're seeing the opulence is still everywhere.
Yeah, really nothing has changed. If anything has changed, perhaps we are even degenerated.
So what are we going to do?
Degenerated.
So what are we going to do
now,
about
when you look
it?
at the National Assembly, but let me say more than 50% of them are members of the Change Party.
Okay.
How changed are they? How changed? What has changed about them? What do you know about what they earn? What do you know about
in fact, people that were not of the change mentality are joining the change party in droves.
Now you just move in and they say, okay, it's one of us who are now, you are now a member of this change.
But even those members in the change party themselves, we're not too sure how
sincere
they really are.
It's part of the government. Government is not about executive. It's a whole. You have the executive, you have the legislature, you have the judiciary. They are all part of it.
Yes.
Now, which of these arms has changed?
And all of them need to change.
So because when you tell somebody you are leading that do this, this is what is right, and the person knows that when you say I'm going right, you go left, the person will begin to wonder, are you serious about this?
Okay, we'll take another break. When we come back, we'll take your calls. The Vice President, tall order, but we don't have any choice. There's no wiggle room here. We have to make progress. Stay with us. We'll be right back. Welcome back. The acting president, Osinbajo, has admonished public servants, that would include the executive, the legislature, the judiciary, to be up and doing. Enough of this fasting and praying. It's not going to help us if we're not rolling up our sleeves, bending our backs to it. The problem we have here, Madili, is that the public service, as he explained it, it's been in place forever. And guys have anywhere from between maybe 15, 20, maybe even 30 years under their belt. It's the only system they know. You can't flush out the public service and put new, clean people in there. You can't do that. So what we're going to do, we're expecting that these people will change. That's the tall part of the order.
Yes, and that's where the key thing is. I talked about strengthening the enforcers, ICPC, Code of Conduct Tribunal, and EFCC. This was also, and then in the Civil Service Commission, we have disciplinary committee of the Civil Service Commission, and every ministry has its own disciplinary committee. But the point is that these people already have understood the system, and they know how to beat the system. There's the story of the man who came in as a director to one of the civil service, one of the arms of government, and was told, "Okay, what was they doing here?" And he complained, "Look at all these cars outside there. Why should there be 4 Mercedes-Benz cars to my Jeeps to my office?" And he said, "Oh, God, keep calm. 3, 1 is for you, 1 is for your wife, the other 2 for your girlfriends." They said, "Okay, I understand. Okay, let's leave that one." Why is there 50 million? Why is there 50 million allocated for my weekend? "Oh, God, no, that's not how we do it here. 50 million allocated." They explained everything to him. He kept quiet. These people already, it's a cult, so to speak. So this is a kind of way that you don't change things by just talking. You have to enforce the already existing regulations. We already have Code of Conduct Tribunal trying the Senate president for 6 months now and no headway. Look at how many hours it took to catch the bomber in Manchester Arena. Within a few hours, they caught the bomber. They got his house. They got his brothers. It's not impossible. It's just that, you see, corruption thrives in chaos. And the only way that people that are corrupt thrive is to continue to connive and ensure that chaos rules. If chaos rules, you can get away with impunity.
Which is the unfortunate, the calamity of the Nigerian state. Good morning, Mr. George.
Good morning, Uncle Yori. And good morning to the guests.
Yeah.
Uncle Yori, action, they say, speaks louder than words. If you're a businessman and you have something to do with the civil service, that is with the ministries, you will know what I'm talking about now. They operate like cartel, that if you come in and you don't play to their game, you will never get what you want. You either compromise your principles or you leave that place to them. The president, the acting president, it was good for him to speak loud. But what I expected him to do is to take action. When something goes wrong against the principles that the government stands for, you take action. People will see it, others will learn from it. Take, for example, there was this problem of transmitted letter from the president to the National Assembly.
Yes.
It was the civil service, what do you call it, that brought a change to it. When it came to the notice of the president, you fired the chief of staff that was said to be responsible for it. Others will learn from it, and that is the way to instill discipline. Talking doesn't work in this kind of environment. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Some might call it draconian,
Yes.
but do we want to change or not? And I think this is where the problem is.
There's a price for change.
I want you to understand that Nigerians are actually easy to govern. Now, but it depends on who is governing them.
And methods.
Yes. Now, when you look at Nigeria as a country, take some communities, go to these communities with 2-3 policemen. You will see the exploits that those 2-3 policemen will do in this community. You can arrest as many people. They are not really that violent. You see, but when they begin to see that you, who is leading, you are not clean, then you begin to see them react in a manner. All right? I can tell you that the civil service, no matter how corrupt it is, the moment they see that there is a government that is prepared to sit up, even the civil servants will sit up. Because they will take whatever shape, they are like chameleon. So whatever shape of the environment, they find themselves. Now, if you put in the enforcement institutions to the point that you are actually carrying them out, the way they should be carried out, I'm telling you, they will sit up. The few who have run foul of the law should be treated in line with the law. The moment that is experienced, you will begin to see. Because these same people, when they travel out, they comply with every manner.
So to all the regulations. Does that not tell you
that they are not lawbreakers as such? Yes. But they have seen a situation that here we don't work with laws.
We don't.
You work with, you know, your status, who you know, and what powers you have.
Thank you very much. And it needs to be said that here, if you work with the laws, you're going to die of poverty and hunger, which is a very, very unfortunate. And then the guys who are smart, who know how to maneuver, who know how to work the system, those are the guys that everybody's giving a chieftaincy title to.
And you end up bowing to them.
Hold the thought, please. Let me bring in Mr. Deyi from Ikeja. Good morning, sir.
Good morning, Uncle Yori.
Thank you for calling in, sir.
Good morning to the panelists in the house.
Good morning, sir.
There is no doubting the fact that our public service is one of the most corrupt institutions in Nigeria today. But why is it so? Simply because there is no deterrence for corruption. People have stolen in the billions. There was even a case of a man in the recent past that stole billions that are meant for pension. But what happened? The man was given a plea bargain of 750,000 naira, which he just picked up from his boots, and the man went away. We will not be encouraged by this kind of situation. It shows that corruption thrives in Nigeria because there is no deterrence. Corruption pays. The worst that can happen to you if you are corrupt is just a slap on the wrist. I expected the vice president to be more, you know, to become harder on people in his primary constituency, which is the judiciary, because they are the bane of our problem in Nigeria today. They are the ones that are encouraging corruption, because it appears that our judiciary is the greatest beneficiary of corruption that we have today. Look at our lawyers. Look at the huge sums of money they collect in briefs for these corrupt people. You know, we can no longer separate the legal fee from loot sharing any longer, because by the time somebody collects 200 million, 300 million and claims that this is my legal fee, how do we separate it from having to share in the loot so that you can connive for this person to go away? Can you imagine, Uncle Yori, that we will have a country where a judge will come out openly to declare in the court of law that nothing is wrong with a lawyer paying money into the account of a judge?
But thank you very much for calling. Part of the challenge here is that all these people that are really custodians of the law, the police, they come from the society. The judges, they come from this society. The lawyers, they come from these societies. The suspect, it comes from this society. In between there, because they all come from this society that I'm not sure has really signed up for this change, really signed up, never mind what they say, they work these things out from within the milieu of that society, and then everybody dons his respective uniform. If it's the policeman, the uniform, the judge, the wig, and on. And then the game continues. Yeah. And so you're not going to get, unfortunately, you're not going to get what is your due or what is right or what is proper, what is seeming, what is fitting. It's not going to happen because there's a more powerful system, quiet and invisible, that's working. Now, all of this is coming from what you guys have already said, that there is no leading by example, showing that there is a zero tolerance. As soon, look at Mrs. Jonathan, for instance. Look at the dollars in her account.
She's insisting it's her own.
And that she's insisting is her own. And because of laws and rules and regulation, people are, tiptoeing around it. How do we grab this hold of this one? This is part of the challenge we are facing. Mr. Additional from Ojo wants to join the conversation. I'm sorry, I'm coming straight back to you, Amadili. Good morning, sir. Mr. Additional. Please carry on.
Yeah, I was saying something about the fact that this thing starts from primary school. Civics. Get people through primary school, secondary school. The average child, when doing common entrance, even the parents stand outside and they are trying to help the child pass the common entrance. You get to secondary school, parents will tell you, why didn't you pass my son? I know he's intelligent. You are against my son. They put pressure on teachers. You get to university, people buy handouts, sleep with professors. And so the system is corrupt from below.
But we have a national orientation agency. Because this is the kind of stuff you're talking about, stuff that is in their province.
The National Orientation Agency. At what point do you listen to a National Orientation Agency? Because I don't know if they go to various homes to teach them values and the rest.
Now, let me come back. Dominic is on the line. Good morning, Reverend Dominic.
Good morning, Yori.
Okay.
Good morning, Brother.
Good morning, sir.
And good morning, the other guests there.
Yeah, good morning.
Dan, actually, nothing has changed. My passport has expired. My international passport has expired. I went to renew it last week. They said there's no booklet. There is no booklet. When I was going there, I saw a man who passed behind me when we came together. We walked into the office at the same time. The man smiled at his passport. So I asked him, how did you do that? He said, hi, Reverend. You came with Reverend cap here. I paid 40,000 for renewal. In the same office, where there's no booklet, somebody also took his own passport, immediately with 40,000 naira. When you're please help us. That one is investigative journalism. Go to the driving license office. I saw a blind man taking a driving license, a blind man. Go to immigration. And I don't want to mention my own center because I'm going back there next week. I should come back next week. But they don't frustrate me. So nothing has actually changed. Let journalists who help Nigeria collect this fact and figures and drop it on the table of government. Nothing is working here. And that's my regret. They call me change everywhere I go because I openly campaign for this change.
Yes.
My wife called me change. The day Jordan lost the election did not give me food because he was a supporter of Jonathan. Every time there's this trouble called change, most of us that support this change are radical. But I have no regret about it. There must be change in this nation.
Yes.
It must move forward.
Indeed.
Thank you.
Thank you very much. There must be change in this country, but it is not. In fact, I think this administration underestimated the nature of what they were up against. They gave us hints at the very, very beginning. Say, you can't even believe the pigsty. You won't even believe it. To even get to the debt of the pigsty, we have to clear a lot of other debt. At the time, people were saying, get on with it, stop complaining. But it's serious here. In fact, I'm worried that more people want things to just be the way it is than want it changed.
Yeah, I even think people don't know what it means because if change comes, many of us will suffer. Because change carries with it a kind of price. And
initially, when you say suffer,
initially,
while we're sort of resetting ourselves,
those who have benefited from the system, the corrupt system, are going to find a lot of pain because
those are the people resisting.
Yes, there are people resisting it because you can't remain in an office and you are posted that you thought you're going to make money, and somebody says you will not make money. You even kill. People will even kill to ensure that they're able to maintain the status quo.
Yeah, but this is not good news to anybody listening to us in the West now, for example, and was thinking of coming to Nigeria. You know, Nigeria's a better market.
You already get it right. The West, they're as bad as we are. You know, they are not better. The only thing is that their institutions are strengthened. They are working. A typical man from the West is as corrupt as the African. You see, but because of the fear of the law, have they not been trying cases of robbery, cases of corruption? Cases, all manner of cases. And as a matter of fact, they are corruption personified when you look at it. Because much of what we are suffering is actually a heritage that they give to us. So it's all about corruption. But the truth is that even while doing all of that, it is always a case of don't be caught, because there are institutions, the moment you get in, it will take you to the very end of it. Wow. But here, you can have one case of corruption for 20 years.
One moment, please. We'll go on a break and we'll be right back. Don't go anywhere, please. Okay, welcome back. I couldn't believe that we've actually entered into the fourth quarter, and maybe we should spend this quarter suggesting ways, what absolutely has to be done to sort of get on the acting president's side for this last quarters, last quarter. It's a tall order. We've told all the problems. We've told the way Nigeria is. But what are the absolutely indispensable things that need to be done if Professor Osinbajo's admonition is to have any sort of reality to it?
Yeah, first of all, they should ensure that its own men that he trusts, that can deliver the goods, are made to head these institutions. If you feel they are weak because people there have stayed for too long and they cannot carry out the orders, cannot get things done, then put the right round pegs in round holes. And I remember the days of Nuhu Ribadu in EFCC. We can have such people in ICPC, Code of Conduct Tribunal, the guy that is trying, but get them to speed up things and let them know that we're in a hurry. If people know that justice delayed, the justice denied, and that you are going to get justice, you are going to be dealt with immediately, people will sit up too. The imbalances in the country. Yeah. Quota system, let's use merit. Let people know that you're going to get the best person there, not because it's from Zamfara or from Edo or from anywhere, but this is the best person in the country for this job. We've taken about 50, Nigeria is 1960, 57 years trying to correct imbalances.
Oh dear.
Can we now move on from just quota system and balancing and go on with merit?
It's complex because you're talking about meritocracy.
Yes.
Now that meritocracy is something critical that people don't talk about in Nigeria because it's too delicate a subject.
Very delicate.
There's an imbalance. What is the qualifications in one part of the country, you know, are not the qualifications in another part of the country, and so you have compromises here and there. We have said the vice president's admonition is a very, very tall order, but it's not impossible. It just does require perhaps a firm hand and a leading by example.
The firm hand alone will not even solve the problem. I can tell you this will remain the level of rhetorics. The firm hand, even if we strengthen all the institutions, you see, you cannot build, you know, a clean system on corruption. Now, take a look at how we contribute to the national treasury. Bayelsa has 8 local governments. How many do we have in Kano? How many do we have in Kaduna? How many do we have? Now, what is their contribution? How do you share resources? So we need to get.
So there's unfairness in the land.
In fact, the land itself is corruption personified.
Okay, Peter.
How do you correct it?
Peter and Wari wants to join the conversation. Good morning. Please continue.
So when you look at this kind of structure, how you are talking about fighting corruption, when what you are using to fight corruption is corruption itself, it becomes a problem. Now, until we begin to de-emphasize the central government by way of true federalism.
So there's no quick fix, is what you're saying?
There's no quick fix.
We must start from somewhere.
But we've got to start from somewhere.
That's where these issues will always resonate.
Look at this whole matter about we must
we call ourselves Federal Republic of Nigeria.
Yes.
Are we federating?
Are we a republic?
Are we a republic?
Mr. Peter, do you want to come in now?
Yes.
Oh, okay.
Good morning, Uncle Yori.
Good morning, sir.
I'm very, very excited about this particular topic you and your panelists are trying to x-ray this morning. You see, as a businessman in Nigeria, I have, I've been a victim of corrupt practices in the civil services time and time again. And it's so painful because, you know, these people, they act in such a way that they don't even care. It's like there's no consequences, nothing. They don't care about your feelings. They don't care about what you think.
Yes.
They tell you, look, you have to play ball, or you go. Sometimes they just ignore you outrightly. Like when the Reverend called in and talked about his experiences with the immigration service, I have had experience like that, even with driving licenses, whatever. Even as far as to our banks on Kuyori, even as far as to the banks. I can tell you that. Now, what I feel, according to what your panelist is saying, is that there is no deterrent for corruption. That's why it's thriving in our society. Like in advanced countries, they are corrupt. I feel it's in the innate nature of man to be corrupt. But when you have institutions that are there to checkmate your every move, you sit up. Like Dr. Dan said, you see, Nigerians are like chameleons. Wherever the ball rolls, that's where everybody goes to.
Yeah.
Okay? So I feel we need to strengthen our institutions in Nigeria. And these institutions need to be founded on principles and rules that are, you know, that can be, that the ordinary man can easily understand what it takes to deal with a particular challenge or a particular issue you are facing. You know, because sometimes, as a businessman, sometimes I pass through certain things, you know, when I try to obtain some things, you know, and I really don't know what to do.
Yeah.
I really don't know who to go to. I really don't know what to do.
Thank you very much, Peter. Thank you very much. That's another problem. Excruciating pain, agonizingly. Peter says that he was suggesting there are times when I just have to yield and do things that I detest.
Doctor, I mean, you must have read the story online about a doctor that went on call and was coming back with his wife around 2 o'clock in the morning, and the police stopped him and his wife, and he explained everything he could, and they said they should give them money, and he said he didn't have money, and they said we'll charge you for robbery. They pleaded with the police, and the policeman in the story was said to have escorted the wife to the ATM machine to withdraw money with an ATM card because they had no money on them. Now, if you're caught, if you're in such a situation, won't you detest the police? Won't you be angry with the system? So it cuts across board. And we're not here to put the Nigerian police on the hot seat.
Yeah.
We are saying from primary school through secondary school to, I'm a doctor. In the hospitals, there's corruption. In the civil service, including the hospital,
even in banks, as Peter was saying,
they charge you. They charge you 4 naira.
Yes.
They charge you 4 naira for text messages to you. Whereas you know that bulk SMS is 2 naira or 1 naira.
But I thought we said we were getting on the vice president's side in
Yes.
this last section.
Yes.
And tell what can we do? We know all these things. Unfortunately, it's a very painful knowledge to have.
We said that you should not just strengthen it, put people there that will implement and give them target. You need to get this thing done.
And have a zero tolerance and let there be results.
The National Orientation Agency should not go from house to house to orientate people. The National Orientation Agency should have a plan that in the next 10 years, in the next 5 years, the average copper living in Nigeria, the average person living in the university should begin to know that this country cannot run like this. This is the best way to run.
Let me squeeze in our last caller. Israel, good morning, sir. You're in Lekki.
Yeah. Hello? I'm still online, please.
Go ahead now, Israel.
Yeah. Good morning, gentlemen.
Good morning, sir.
Good morning.
Good morning, gentlemen. I'm excited.
Yeah, good morning.
I'm excited for getting you today.
All right.
Oh, we're so happy you could get in.
Remember the terms we've been using. A new sheriff in town, a sound and a very viral president. People were sitting up, but they waited to see what will happen. Now a wrong signal was given, and that's why my president lost me. By going to UK in the first place, and secondly now he's permanently in UK. We're waiting for his doctors to tell us when he'll be back. It is never done anywhere in the world. This is the only continent I see president go to developed world to stay. How do we not develop our medical facilities? And here you are talking about the civil service breaking up. The vice president is a preacher. He's just preached.
Yeah.
We need to show good examples.
I understand you, Israel. I understand what you're saying, but yeah, even the vice president himself said, look, he's a preacher. He's a spiritual man. He knows all about that. But he's saying, can we put all of that to one side and then look at the work part of it. After all, the admonition is work and pray. So that was the pitch the vice president was making, that it's not just about preaching. And he was saying like, he was actually saying, you probably agree, Israel, that...
How can we put it to one side when the president is seated in UK?
Okay, all right.
How can we put it on one side when the president is seated in UK?
But we still have to get on with our lives.
Ready to die? Which Nigeria is ready to die? Don't we...
Thank you very much for calling in. We take all sorts. We take all sorts.
One way of addressing the challenges
yes.
of Nigeria is to begin to build a new generation.
Education,
however, yes.
What about education?
That is
because education and orientation will go together.
That is the question of building.
Because I think the education we have right now is that the more you can show, the more successful you are. The more you can show by way of physical assets.
We need to focus on our primary schools. Really, we need to begin to build a culture. Now, much of what you find today is that people want to make money without even working.
That's what we understand.
All right, but with some of us who went through some training of a kind, we still do know that there's no shortcut.
Well, let's leave it there.
We need to go through
maybe
proper training.
Maybe that's what we should just leave the program with, that there is no shortcut to achieving our objective.
Yes.
And start from the grassroots up. We have to
build
that's the way to work.
We just have to get on with it and do it. Yeah. We have to leave it there for now. It's one of those topics that could run for 6 hours if we had the time. Amadili Boyo, thank you very, very much for coming. And Gane Kere, our pleasure to have had the benefit of your perspectives. I'm Yori Folani. Bye-bye for now.